And welcome to Cross Sports Network Crosstalk Live. We are here July 20-something, 25th. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing today?
We got Mike on the mic being the producer. I'm trying to get everybody in. Semi-pro season is winding down. Playoffs are approaching. A lot of teams have already folded. A lot of teams are locked into the playoffs. So we still got a couple of great games out there that I'm excited to see. What are you excited about this weekend, Mike?
I'm excited to all that drama with the comments and the who was it? The comments and I can't even remember who it was, but there's rumors in the BCFL that the owner of the Dukes is screwing the comments, and I'm just excited to see how that pans out.
Okay. Well, you know, as we're approaching season ending, everything's starting to come to form. The teams you thought was going to win, teams you thought were contenders, teams you had positioned to win, they're coming back. They may have took a week off. They may have went nowhere at all. They may have lost a game. Teams that you thought were coming out of nowhere, everything's starting to settle right where I guess everyone thought it would. You know, there was a lot of hype earlier in the year. A lot of teams, hey, you know, this team's shocking people. This team, watch out for this team. All that seems to be simmering down. One thing that I find very interesting is people's lack of understanding of how playoff standings and positioning works. So a better record does not always guarantee you a better spot. So, for example, let's break this down like you would if you were watching the NFL. If you're 12-4, and there's another team that's 13-3, or I'm sorry, 10-5, and that team's ranked ahead of you, they may have just won their division, and you didn't. Same stuff happens here. BCFL, for example, the Dukes right now are looking at that number 3 seed. A lot of teams are complaining, hey, we got a better record than them. We're better than them. What's going on? Dukes are winning their division. Same thing's going on in the PAFL Tier 2. Hey, I got a better record than so-and-so. Why are they ranked higher than me? Why are they ranked ahead of me? They won their division. You didn't. Let's be honest. We're going to peek into the Tier 2 of PAFL. I'm just using this team as an example. They haven't really been complaining about it. But the Hornets beat the Broncos. But and now they have to play again, and this time the Broncos are the higher seeded team. The Broncos had more loss than the Hornets, but the Broncos won their division. Hornets, they did not. Another thing that I'm starting to notice. We all remember high school, right? You remember high school, don't you, Buck? I don't know how old you are, but you remember high school.
I remember like it's yesterday.
All right. So there was always that one kid that tried to be something he wasn't. Like, example, every kid you knew, if you had a kid that was good at something, if you had a kid that was good at sports, if they were good at class, if they had great grades, if they were a valedictorian, like, they didn't need to talk on it because they were just that. If you had a kid that struggled, if he was a quote-unquote stoner, if he was the guy that just wanted to flunk out and do whatever, he didn't need to talk about it because that's what he did, or she did. Then there was that one kid who was always trying to find out who they were. One day they would be this, one day they'd be that, and they felt the need to talk about it all the time. And those kids usually end up being neither. And people know. Those kids, to me, in semi-pro, at semi-pro high school, are the Columbus Gladiators, are the MV Rough Riders, are the Tri-State Titans. Some of these teams, they talked so high. Like, you don't hear the Oklahoma Thunder demanding respect. I don't hear from the Oklahoma Thunder at all because they're bigger than me. They're bigger than us. They're bigger than semi-pro. They are just dominating. The Columbus Fire aren't out here demanding respect. The Middle Tennessee Bulldogs aren't out here demanding respect because it's given to them.
They've earned it.
They've earned it. I'll give props. The Sherbain Spartans, I had them miscalculated, had them misunderstood. We talked that out. We're good now. But MV Rough Riders, ever since you've been saying, look at me, you've been losing.
What have you done?
Tri-State Titans. I had you ranked number 2 in my first ever rankings, and your words to me wasn't, hey, that's great, let's see if I can live up to that. Why aren't we number 1? They're sleeping on us. The disrespect. So the disrespect right now has you about to fold.
Trash.
Columbus Gladiators. I saw this storm coming a mile away. I said on the 3rd episode, you can love your baby. Don't make me love your baby. You can think your kid is the best kid ever. Don't expect me to think your kid is the best kid ever. Don't be one of those kids that's posting on social media, judge my drawing, because I'm not judging you as a 10-year-old drawing. I'm judging you as an artist, and this picture is horrible. Don't tell me to judge your team based on the fondness that you're judging them with. That, hey, my best friend's the quarterback, my best friend's this player, we're going to be great. I'm judging you off what I see. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong at times. But, man, have I been right with this one. I said it when y'all barely beat the Dukes. Hey, we traveled bad. You tried to use that as an excuse. I said, don't use that as an excuse. You traveled poor to West Virginia. Oh, but we won by 60. I'm looking at the bigger picture. You traveled on a long trip with like 15 people.
Sorry, not sorry.
Then you reach your pinnacle. You reach the height of your season. You reach the mass of your bubble when you had a 30-something lead on the West Portsmouth Tanks. That bubble then popped. You lost. I said mentally they're done. I got crucified for that. But I said, hey, you can't travel. You just blew the opportunity to win your division. You guys are done. No. It's football, one leg at a time, 11 men on the field, so forth. Then you get embarrassed by Marion County. And I say embarrassed not by the score, by the fact that there was some shenanigans at half that got the game called early. Oh, but we're not going to lose another game, blah, 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 blah. You play the Comets. The game gets called early, supposedly for weather. It's not even a close game. The season is now over for you guys. Because the way the brackets are looking, you guys got to play the Comets again at the Comets. History has decided traveling is not your strong point. All right, that's my opening rant. Let's dive into some recaps. We're going to dive into a little bit of recapping on what went on last week. MSFA, man, what is going on with this? I feel like this is just the independent league. We had one actual game, and it was the Kentucky Spartans. They beat the Kentuckiana Cavalry. I think it was 27-6. I went to that game. It was the only game I could go to in the MSFA. Let me tell you what I saw. I saw a Cavalry team that is basically on the same course. That's why I can't take you can't take you serious as a contender. You show up at home with 55. You go on the road with 21, 18 to 22, depending at the beginning of the game and to the end of the game. I can't take you serious because of that. So you go out there and you're getting just shellacked. I mean, it's rough. It's 27-0 at half. And I felt like the refs, timeout. Why do the refs say they go by NFL rules? NFL, the clock does not run after an incomplete pass. These refs at semi-pro continue to insist that the clock starts when you set the ball, not on an incomplete pass.
No.
Maybe on the first play, if you go out of bounds, as soon as the ball's set, it restarts. Incomplete pass, it does not start until the ball is snapped. I'm done ranting. So, it's 27-0 at half. The Cavs are done. Stick a fork in them. And then the Spartans do. Look, I have been on record. The Spartans' heart and soul and body is that quarterback. Because the decisions he makes, yes, every pass isn't perfect, but the decisions he makes, the way he leads that team, the way guys hover around him, the way line block better when he's back there, the way receivers run sharper routes when he's back there, the whole thing just runs much smoother. But for the third time, or actually the second time when I watched the Airborne, they get a 20-point lead, and they say, we're taking him out. And things go to crap. It happened against the Airborne. You took him out. Your backup gave up 2 sacks and a turnover that led to a score. It happened here too. 2 sacks and a turnover that led to a score. Now, you're lucky you're playing inferior opponents on the road they're on the road. They haven't traveled near as well, so you can get away with that. But the team around crumbles when this happens. This is just like a team that's built, you see it in the Big 12 all the time, your Oklahomas, your TCUs. The running game is built around the ability to pass. The receivers are built around getting a quick, accurate pass. The defense is built to play with a lead. They got some of the best DBs I've seen. Front seven, I got some questions with. But they're meant to where you can't run the ball. When you're down 27-0, you can't run the ball. You got to throw the ball. The defense is able to capitalize and get turnovers. You take him away. You take him out the game. All this seems to go to pot. And everybody tries, no, that's not the case. It's been the case. You go to every game I've watched, minus the Colts game, because you couldn't do anything wrong against the Colts. Who could? Against the Airborne, you had a 20-0 lead. You take him out, it now becomes 20-6. You had a 20-0 lead at half. You win 20-6. That means you got beat 6-0 in the second half when you tried this decision. You lost to the Titans. Against the Cavs, you didn't have him at all, and you almost lost that game. The Cavs didn't know how to close a game out. You did play really good in a revenge atmosphere against the Titans again, which we'll get on them later. That seems to be when Rome started to fall in their own right. And then you get a 27-0 lead against the Cavalry, and instead of putting them out of their misery, and the way that game was going, by the end of the third quarter, you could have been up 40-0. Then you make your change. Because by then, it's just all garbage time anyway. You're going to do that, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally. He's going to have to come out of the game, and you're not going to have a big enough lead, and your team's not going to know how to handle that. So you can fight for the case that that's what you were doing. You were trying to prepare the team for it. Don't. I've talked to the coaching staff. They're a great group of guys. But I'm being honest. The backup may be the future. Evans, your Tom Brady. You may have Garoppolo back there. You got to win now. Win now, because there is no future in semi-pro. Let's be honest. The game will continue, but no team is guaranteed more than what you got right now. The Cavalry. Get it together, man. I've talked a lot of hype about you, but you traveled. You traveled poorly. You already don't have a quarterback. You can say what you want about that. You didn't come with any DBs this time. You're not going to be able to play a great passing game with no DBs. To the rest of the MSFA. Okay, but before I put that on here, Canes, you had another week off. I think you got a game against the Colts this weekend. I don't even know what's going to happen with that. We'll get to the Canes again here in a minute. The rest of the MSFA, what are you guys doing? We've talked enough about the Colts. I'm not going to spend any time today talking about that. They got a great group. The 10 guys they have has heart. Everybody else, I don't know. The Fury. Man, what happened to the Fury? You all was on one of the first shows talking about you got this great quarterback, a great team. You're going to beat, I think it was the Titans by 3 touchdowns, or maybe it was more than that, and one kid was going to have 3 touchdowns. You took a forfeit, a home game, because you didn't have enough players. What's going on? Is the Bulldogs draining all the talent that bad in Nashville? If so, hang it up. Go stick to spring. Clarksville, y'all doing your thing down there? We'll touch on that a little later. Titans demanded respect. Talk to me. Give me the respect. Demanded. You're sleeping on us. Right now, you're on fold watch. Apparently, you don't have a field. Apparently, half your team's gone. Now, I don't know what the difference between rumors and truth is right now. But what I am seeing, you took a home forfeit as well against the Colts. It's the MSFA, a league that has little to no guidelines. You mean to tell me you couldn't have found a park and 15 guys to play the Colts?
I mean, they were only going to bring 10.
They were only going to bring, right, they were going to bring 10. Right, wait it out. If you're that petty, why didn't you play chicken with the game? And when they showed up with 10, say, can't have it, give me the forfeit. Mm-hmm. At least then you benefit, and the decision makes you look bad, but not as bad as you do now.
So I have an inside source here about the Titans here.
What's going on?
They said the Titans they're not mentally tough to play the game. Period. They said that Al Raz, he's very popular in the comment section here, has single-handedly defeated them with his trash talk on the boards.
You know, I have a lot of trouble believing that, and solely because the Tri-State Titans team is new to the area. That name's new, but we've all played the Rangers, the Enforcers, and Al Raz is quote unquote the Troll King, but he's not the first. He's not the first person to come through trolling. He's not the first person to make owners get in their feelings. He's not the first person to make guys get out of character. What's so different this year?
The mentally tough aspect. Like the Titans just aren't mentally tough. I mean, they're weak-minded people.
Look, all I got to say is you had the opportunity. The MSFA has given you that we have no rules. Go play at a park somewhere, and you still could have gotten a win.
I mean, you guys beat the Spartans not even a month ago, right?
Right, and was losing to them the thing that killed you? Was that loss? Is that what just slaughtered all that? I don't know. What's up with the Wolfpack? Are they folded? Some say yes. I heard from them no, so I'm going to hold that true.
I haven't seen them play a game.
They haven't played. Well, that
3
whole
weeks.
South
Yeah.
hasn't played in forever. So what's going on with the playoffs? MSFA playoffs. I feel we're close to some actual answers on the format. I feel like it's going to be number one and number 2 will be your division winners, and then 3 through 6 will be everybody else. Okay, so we got that answered. I mean, it is what it is. I guess if you're going teams that deserve it, that's okay. But I also hear there's a rumor that if you forfeited a game, if you have not completed a game, you are ineligible for the playoffs. If this is true, which I actually hope this is true, and I actually hope they hold to it, because it cleans this all up. Because right now, when we're going to dive into some bracketology here in a minute, Buck, and we're going to dive all over the place, and it's going to be a lot of hypotheticals because the MSFA is actually one of the schedules that are still the schedules that are still going, and there's a lot of uncertainty going. But you got a team in the Fury that are now 4-3 and only played 3 games. Right now, they're the 3rd seed, and they played 3 games. I don't think that's fair. If you want to, I think you hold it to that rule. You clean this up, and you look and you say the Canes, they're great. They look good. They've not forfeited the game. Spartans, same thing. Airborne, same thing. Cavs haven't looked as polished, but man, they've been there, and no matter the numbers, they finished that game. That's your 4 playoff teams. Let's just clean this up. All 4 of those teams have attempted to play multiple games. Even on their bye weeks, they've attempted to get, or on their forfeit weeks, they've attempted to get something rolling. So make that be every other team. Look, I know the coach technically haven't forfeited a game, but you've had so many problems that I can't include you in this. The Wolfpack, even if they haven't folded, you lost a game against a team you could probably beat because you didn't have refs. The Fury don't have enough for a home game, and the Titans are going on with whatever they got going on. Those don't sound like teams that deserve playoff spots to me. You can make it winner of Canes and Spartans, number 1, loser number 2, Airborne number 3, Cavs number 4. Let's get this playoff going. Let's just get it going. That's the teams that deserve it. So looking into a little bit of what we have next week, I don't know. The schedule I have of games coming up Saturday says nothing. It says this is a makeup.
So let me jump in real quick here. The Wolfpack are chiming in saying that they did play Saturday night against the Bolts. However, that was the worst game of the year if you were in the stands. I'm not for sure what they're meaning by that, but apparently they played.
Did they get a win? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
league, so this conversation becomes a moot point. What I'm talking about here is playoffs in the MSFA. And so I'm kind of excited about Saturday. Let me just tell you what I'm doing Saturdays. I'm going out to watch this doubleheader at Flagey, which the idea of it sounds awesome. Got a game at 3 and got a game at 5. Got the Cavs, got the Canes. Cavs play the Titans. If the Titans show and the Titans are ready, that's going to be a good game.
Should be.
If the Titans can get back to what they once were, they could win that game. Canes Colts. Monty, how many are you showing up with? What's that Colts team going to look like? That's a mean Canes team. And I'm not having the discussion right now who's better, Canes or Spartans. But the Spartans are a finesse team. So this little 10-on-10 scrimmage that I seen, that could happen against the Spartans because the Spartans love to throw the ball.
Yeah.
The Spartans have quicker defenders. The Spartans like to pick you off and take it to the house. The Canes are the exact opposite. The Canes are smash mouth. The Canes going to want to run it at you. The Canes want to blitz. The Canes want to knock your head off. And I'm not referring to anything dirty. They just want to play hard. That does not lend itself well to coming with 10 guys. We got through the glorified flag game in Owensboro because they're a finesse team. They like to throw the ball as much as possible. They want to run screens. They want to throw deep. That was fine. This 10-on-10 is not going to cut it this Saturday because they're aggressive. The running backs are mean. The running backs are quick. The running backs are looking for contact. They're looking for contact on special teams. They're looking for it on offense. They're looking for it on defense. Their backups are looking for it. I hope you're coming more prepared.
Do you think they'll bring any of the Gators players with the
I hope
Colts?
so. I hope so. And if you're the Canes, you hope so too because you're on just a big old snooze fest.
Yeah, they haven't played a game in
You haven't played a game in a couple weeks.
since the Cavs, right?
Since the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get going because now your next game's 8-4 versus the Spartans. And then you got the playoffs. So yeah, you hope they bring the King Comets. Just because it's a game you want to test yourself, you want to kind of splash your face with water before the playoffs get going.
Need that tune-up game.
So right now, the way the playoffs look in the MSFA, the Airborne are pretty much locked into the 2 seed. If everything was to end today, the Fury would be the 4 seed. Depending on what kind of penalty you hold the Titans to, if they got the same exact record as the Cavs, so whoever win this game would be the 5 seed. I'm going Cavs just because I don't know what the Titans have. So, I'm going to the Cavs are going to win and get the 5 seed. The Titans are going to be that 6 seed. Now, here's where things get interesting. 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is pretty much 1 will be the winner of Spartans Canes. 3 will be the loser of Spartans Canes. I'm changing every morning. I wake up and I change my mind depending on how the wind blows, depending on how the sun's shining. My mind is being changed by who's going to win this game. And call it a flip-flop if you want, but I think anyone outside of these two organizations, I don't know if they can give you 110% answer. I mean, obviously the Canes are going to say the Canes are going to win it, and the Spartans are going to say the Spartans are going to win it. But anyone who's not a part of those two organizations probably can't give you 100% definitive answer. Because right now, based on what I've seen, based on some changes that have occurred, I got the Canes winning. I've already flipped. I got the Canes winning at Flagey. I got the Spartans then becoming a 3 seed. So right now, your playoffs look like Canes Airborne bye week. I wanted to create a little graphic so you could see my bracketology. Didn't get to. Sorry, guys. Canes 1 seed, Airborne 2 seed. Then things get a little interesting. Because you got 3 versus 6, which if everything holds true, is Spartans Titans, round 3. Cavs Fury at Fury. So that Cavs team that's tough, that I've been kind of, hey, I'm respecting what I'm seeing, I'm liking what I can get behind. You got to travel. In 3 hours. I've made that Nashville trip quite a few times in the spring. That's a doozy. If the Fury now get that little playoff spot, hey, be interesting.
If the Titans come together and play like they did against the Spartans the first time, I mean the playoffs kind of look a little exciting.
They are looking exciting if everything holds true to form.
But the state of the Titans right now, it's
so
there's
with
no
that
sense of playing that game.
With that, being said, I still think the first round, you got Spartans versus Titans. I have the Spartans winning that, taking the grudge match and winning the series 2-1 over the season. And then I have the Cavs and Fury. I want to go Fury with that being a home game, but I don't trust them. They may have to take a forfeit.
Let's hope not.
Cavs may take that one. Then your playoffs look like I got number 1, the Canes, taking on number 4, the Cavs. And then I got 2, Airborne, hosting the Spartans, a Spartans team that beat them the first time around in Owensboro. Now we get excitement because both the Cavs and the Canes share a field. So there's no true home field advantage unless you like being on one side of the field or the other. Then you got a team, the Airborne, were upset the way I, among many people, said that you got beat down by the Spartans because in the first half you did. And then they did something stupid and you started to get a little life. So now you get that same team. Now you got something to prove. You got that big old chip on your shoulder. It's in Nashville for you. That's exciting. I think what would happen in that situation, I think the Canes would still. I don't think the Cavs can score on the Canes. I think the Canes would win 6-0, 12-0, 18-0. It wouldn't be an embarrassing blowout, but I think it'd be enough to give them a championship game. Spartans Airborne. That's going to be a lot more interesting, I think. But I think the Spartans have their full offense. I think they go pedal to the metal. I think they pull that one out by a touchdown or 2. Giving us to where we've always wanted to be. Canes, Spartans, championship game. I often said, once again, I floated all over the place with this. But now, if we're here, this is my final bracketology, my final predictions. Everything else will be official since we're in the playoffs. I actually don't. I struggle to say this, but I don't think this 8-4 game matters at all. Winner or loser. I mean, if you flip them, you have the Spartans at home. They're beating everybody at home. Then you have the Canes at 3. They have to go to the Airborne. I still think they got a mean defense. No matter how whoever wins 8-4, 8-4 does not matter, in my opinion, anymore. I'm still going to be there. I think it'll still be a fun game. That trash talk will finally mean something. But I don't think the game actually matters because they're no longer in the same division. Well, they are, but it doesn't matter as far as the playoff format. So now they're destined to meet in the championship game. So originally I heard that the championship game was in Evansville, which means the Canes have to travel. Means Owensboro really doesn't. It means you're on a turf field. Great stuff. Well, we talked last week that still at a turf field, but it's in Jeffersonville. And to me, that's a game changer. Yes, the offense still gets to play on a turf field. They still get to demonstrate their speed under the lights, yada, yada. But I had a little sneak peek at that Canes roster. And let me tell you, this, and let me preface this by saying in no way is this a negative statement. This is just you building the best team that you can, and bravo to them. That is a deep team. And with it being in Jeffersonville, guys who haven't even played a game get to show. Guys who's not been to Flagey, not been on the road, they get to show. Because it's a championship game. Who's not coming? It's in your backyard. I bet that team will be 65 deep. And with having everybody one game, I got to give it to the Canes. I mean, I'm not eliminating the Spartans, and I'll probably wake up being like, man, I picked that one wrong. But as of today, my last bracketology before diving into the playoffs, I have your MSFA champions being the River City Hurricanes.
Let me challenge your thoughts here real fast. Let's say the Spartans beat the Canes on the August game.
Uh-huh.
Do you think, the Canes have the reputation of them not traveling well. Do you think they can travel to Nashville and pull it out against Airborne?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, it's just it wasn't even close, and it's a playoff game, so you're going to get your core guys there. Championship games, Canes, Spartans. The only person that could really throw something into this mix is if the Titans somehow come together. Because there's so much rivalry and so much...
That's their championship game.
That is. And that could throw things way off. Now, I do think there's also something to be said. Whoever wins this game on 8-4, they may be set up for a little bit of a letdown. But with this being a championship game, I just struggle to see you're playing in your backyard. Anybody will be able to make it. I've seen that Canes roster. There's guys on there that are good. And like I said, it's not illegal. It's not frowned upon in any way. But I'm just saying, if it's in Jeffersonville, if it's in Louisville, if it's in the 502-812 area code, that Canes team is going to be super deep in a championship game. I hate to say it because I love nothing more than being proved right. And for so long, I was on the Spartans, but I'm just seeing some things. I'm not saying – I'm saying it's 60-40, 55-50, 52-48. You know, I'm still real – and I might see something on 8-4 that says, okay, that's going to flip the scales, but I think the 8-4 game is now rendered completely useless. The reason it had bearings before, when you guys were stuck in the north, is one of you guys was going to have to travel to the other for the playoffs. It's gone now. All right. That's enough for the MSFA. Let's dive on into the BCFL.
Moving on.
What happened?
I said moving on.
BCFL, you're almost as bad as the MSFA. You just started bad. Was Fold City. And then it kind of got a little better for you guys. I don't think there was many scores. The Tanks got a forfeit win. Tanks got a forfeit win versus the Colonels. If I'm mistaken, I believe the Crusaders got a forfeit win. The only two games that I think actually occurred was the Dukes just continuing their great run and beating down the Saints. Matchup. Look, very good chance that'll be a playoff matchup. And then the 20, I want to say it was 21-6. Comets beating the Gladiators, which, look, I know that game was respectable, but here comes the Comets. And the Gladiators, I already spoke my piece on them. The playoffs here look to be set. Now, I know that there's a big game this weekend with the Comets and Tanks that could really play a lot into it. I still like the Tanks to win that one. So I like the Tanks to be that number 1 seed. I like the Crusaders to be number 2. Dukes will be number 3. Comets number 4. Gladiators number 5. And Saints number 6. I'm pretty confident. I know that's not exactly, I mean, there is other options, but I'm pretty confident that that's going to be the layout. That gives us Tanks and Crusaders bye week. Dukes hosting the Saints. We just saw that. And Gladiators at Comets. I don't think there's going to be much excitement in that first round. I do think the Dukes will win easily, and I think the Comets will win easily. I don't even think the Comets game will finish. I think once the Comets get the Gladiators down by so much, that game will cease to be as well. Next game, Dukes versus Saints. I think the Dukes are going to win pretty easily. Saints are used to getting beat upon. I think that game will complete. Then we do get interested. A little bit. If everything held true, you would have the Tanks hosting the Comets, which I do think will be a great game this weekend. And then you have the Crusaders holding the Dukes. The Dukes are much improved from the first time they played. But I don't think it'll be enough. Tanks win close this week. 20-14, I'll say. Tanks win even closer the next time around. 22-18, 22-20, 26-24. Crusaders, they beat up on the Dukes, giving us a BCFL championship game. What's that? What's going on over there, Mike?
Billy Cole is calling the upset, Saints versus Dukes, and then Chuck, I believe he's the owner of the Pit Bulls. He asked if they needed a used coffin they can borrow for the game.
Now, we'll get into that coffin again, depending on what the man spent on the coffin. I mean, depending on what he spent on it, he's got to get that money out, unless he's just saving it for his own demise. So BCFL championship game is going to be what we've always wanted. Tanks, Crusaders, part 2. I think it'll be at the Tanks. I've not heard a clear answer on that, but I think it's going to be a good one. The Tanks, I think they got lucky. I mean, you got lucky. You won 7-6 at home. I don't know exactly how the points came by. This time around, I think Crusaders win it. I think Marion County holds on to it and gets a pretty big win. I mean, I think they win 20-20. I say 20-6, 20-8. And as of right now, in the final bracketology for the BCFL champions will be your Marion County Crusaders.
Now, have we figured out where the championship game's at yet?
I've been informed. The closest thing I've heard is the number 1 seed host, the highest remaining seed host.
Okay.
Which, the way I got it set up, now I know there are some other options. I know that if the Comets win today or win Saturday, then I think the Tanks then they could fall either 2 or 3, which could make things interesting.
It's a big game then. Real big game.
But I don't think it changed anything, because I think the difference between the has and the has-nots in the BCFL is as big as almost any other league. I think there's only 3. The Crusaders have just been one of the deepest and best teams out. The Tanks know how to win, whether they be from the Warriors or the Tanks last year made it to the championship, lost to the Broncos. And the Comets just know how to win. MSFA champions, OFL champions. Crusaders, I think, are mentally out. Dukes are good, but not good enough. Saints just don't have enough. And everyone else shut up shop. Everyone else has called it a day, which is really disappointing. When I looked into this, the Piranhas were in it. The Colonels were a solid team, rebuilding their second year. Heard great things about the Lightning. I think they even had their own bus. I knew the Gators were a pretty solid team. All 4 of those guys gone. So, I think about any way we slice it, it's going to be the Crusaders versus, I'm looking at about 80% Tanks, 20% Comets. Either way, I think they win it. I think they hold on to be champions. That percentage will just increase if they get home field advantage throughout. Games this week. I hadn't really had a chance to look through it. I do know we got Comets and Tanks. I was going to kind of look through the schedule this week to see what we had. So it looks like we got Lightning at Saints. Saints will be awarded a win. Gators at Piranhas. That game will cease to exist. Then you got the Piranhas at Dukes. I'm not sure how that would be. Either way, Dukes will get a win. And then Tanks. Yeah, the only game that's happening is Comets versus Tanks. And it does have some great playoffs implications. I think the Comets are back. I think they stumbled a little bit. They got built back up. I've heard reports. Wasn't it somebody told us last week that there was only 3 remaining Comets from previous teams on this one?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to matter. They seem to be performing really well.
It's a culture thing over there, it seems like.
Just like any of these other guys. And once again, I'm going to hold true that there's something to be said for nice uniforms, nice helmet, nice field. It goes well. We had the guy on here. We had the guy on the show a little while ago who said that he didn't need all that. Didn't need pictures. Didn't need film. Didn't need nice uniforms. Didn't need nice helmets. And you don't. You don't need any of that to win. But it helps.
You look good, you play good.
In semi-pro, where Well, your team is a business, and the only way to keep your business running is by its employees, quote unquote, the players. You got to have something to get them in. They love turf fields. They love flashy uniforms. I mean, there's already pictures going around of the Piranhas. They got new uniforms, blue and white, look like the Raiders. They look really nice. That's going to help. It's going to help when it comes out. You know, hey, you can go over here and you can play in practice jerseys, or we got these uniforms. It's going to get buzz. And the Gladiators, I'm sorry, this year you guys didn't have buzz. Another team that doesn't do it, the Canes, they don't do that. They don't have a lot of, they are pictures. They don't have a lot of film. They don't have a lot of promotion. They do got some pretty nice uniforms. They don't play on a great field, but they know their identity. And they're competing in an area where there's not a lot of competition for guys to take their players, especially in a year like this.
Mm-hmm.
So either you need to, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the Gladiators, I know for a fact the Gladiators are in Columbus. There's like 4 teams in that area. You got to do something. You got to stay fresh. You got to stay edgy. You got to stay ahead. And they haven't. In my opinion, they are, I think it's maybe cut and dry. They probably are the worst team in Columbus. All right, so to recap here, my 2018 MSFA champions, as of today, River City Hurricanes. 2018 BCFL champions, as of today, Marion County Crusaders. Moving on to the GDFL. The GDFL's left me ahead. Playoffs started 2 weeks ago. They're down to their final 4. Going to recap some games. Oklahoma Thunder beat the Mississippi Road Warriors. I think it was 20-6. I told you. The team's only lost to one team all year, lost to them twice. But everybody else, get out of their way. They've been here, done that. They are here to win, and I'm telling you, you have to take them serious in the playoffs. Oklahoma Outlaws beat the Alabama Sabres. There were some rumors that the Sabres didn't think they was going to have to travel to Oklahoma, didn't want to travel to Oklahoma, wasn't going to travel to Oklahoma. They did. They got beat pretty badly. I think it was 29-16, something along those lines. That Oklahoma team is serious. Now we get the ultimate grudge match there.
I would like to travel to Oklahoma to see that one.
Let's talk a little bit about some things locally here. Middle Tennessee Bulldogs beat the Lexington Red Dragons 62-0.
Ugly.
Now, I don't know all the details that came from this. I know the Dogs had a quarterback who accounted for, I want to say, 7 total touchdowns, 6 passing and 1 rushing, I was told. When you can beat a team 62-0 in the playoffs, that means you're firing on all cylinders. This isn't as much about what the Red Dragons didn't do or did do or could have done or should have done. Hey, the Red Dragons had a strong organization. I heard they traveled pretty light, but the Bulldogs are just on that next level. The Bulldogs are they're on a mission. They got the revenge versus the Rockets. Just from what I know of them, the Bulldogs are a team that can beat anyone. If you're lucky, you get them sidetracked. Like example, in the MFA, when they were first in the MSFA, I was a part of a team called the Kentuckiana Bucks. We went down to Nashville for their first league game, and we had some players started talking some smack. Bulldogs were focused, and they beat us 46-6. The next week, they traveled to Evansville. They played some backups. They subbed in and out, and they only won 26-13. Sometimes teams that great have to have a reason to stay focused. It's not just they've won 3 titles in 3 seasons. They're looking for 4 titles in 2 calendar years. They need a reason to stay focused. Huntsville gave them a reason to stay focused because Huntsville caught them off guard and beat them. They turned around and got revenge. Huntsville was a really good team. There was a lot of talk. I even said to myself, I went and watched this Red Dragon team. This Red Dragon team looked like it had a solid line, one of the best quarterbacks, and some of the fastest receivers. I had some questions about their defense, but I guess you could also say there's potentially some questions about the Bulldogs' offense at times. All that went out the window the first time they played. Won 45-0. The game got called early. 62-0 this time around. And they were scoring any way they wanted from the sounds of things. This Bulldogs team seems focused. They seemed to be playing on a level. They had some problems. They didn't really travel, or they may have traveled well, but they didn't really fare too well against the Sabres. They'd lost to the Rockets. They played somewhat underwhelming the second time around to the Eagles, but since then, they're playing like a top team in the country, maybe even the number one team in the country, minus that loss. So now they're moving on to the semifinals. The game that I have some mixed feelings about. I felt like I may have hedged my bets with this game because I felt like the Rockets struggled to travel. I felt like the Rockets were substantially better. I got a little ahead of myself. Huntsville Rockets versus the Erie Express. I felt like the Rockets are the better team. I felt like they were much better than the Express. The only difference is they had to travel 12 hours for a mid-afternoon game, for a 3 o'clock local time for the Rockets game. And then I found out their quarterback tore their ACL. But I still had the Express winning close. I thought all that would be enough to take down. I think I had them winning 16-14, 18-16, something along those lines. Well, I was right. The Express did win, and it was close. But the fashion of which they won, I juggle between it. It's the old ESPN debate. Did you win or did you lose it? Did the Express win that game, or did the Rockets lose that game? The rundown I was given, the Rockets hopped out, was slinging the ball over the place. I think they had a 75-yard touchdown. They had another 50-plus yard touchdown. They jumped out to a 22-0 lead in the early third quarter. 22-0 on the road, 12 hours away for a mid-afternoon game.
Let me jump in real quick. It is rumored that the Huntsville Rocket quarterback tore his ACL.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard that going in. And so that's one thing that I was like, I don't think the chips were definitely stacked against him.
Well, like, did he tear it in the game?
No, he tore it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And maybe the last Dogs game, maybe a game later in the season. I'd heard reports that he had torn it, and I was like, the chips are just too stacked ahead of him. So, no, at no point, from my understanding, did this quarterback for the Rockets play.
Okay.
Didn't matter. Their backup came in there, and like I said, put up a 75-yard touchdown, a 50-yard touchdown, and maybe even had another one. I thought this was going to be a runaway. Then, as one of the Express players tell me, it stopped raining. That's literally what he said. Said it stopped raining. I think he's number 4, maybe. So then, Hannah, I'm not sure his last name, he's their quarterback. Rumor has it he got in a huddle. He said, I'm putting you on my back. Either get with me or get gone. Probably, I'm paraphrasing, but that's a gist of what I heard he said. Get with me or get gone. And he did. I love it. What's up?
I said I love that.
He drug them to the finish line. They cut it down. I think it was 22-13, something along those lines. Rockets scored again, made it 28. Express just kept scoring and ended up winning 31-28. Wow. I was in awe when I saw that. But this age-old question goes. Did the Rockets lose that game, or did the Express win that game? Now, I've been very harsh on anyone who comes to me with a win or a loss, but mainly a win, and attaches an excuse to it. I was told that they started playing good when it stopped raining. So that means I can't bet. That means if it had stormed the entire game, would you have lost 44-0? That's not a game I can get. That's not a team I can get behind. It's not a team I can support. That's not a team that I have confidence and say, man, that's one of the top teams in the country. If it hadn't rained at all, would you have won 60-something to nothing or 60-something to 12? Would you have rivaled what the Bulldogs did? Because I think the Bulldogs would have won by 50 if it would have been a foot of snow and a hurricane. But I don't feel like I can say the same. I feel like maybe we're looking at the same thing that I'm talking about with the MSFA. You got the Spartans that are finesse, the Canes that are physical. Are the Express the finesse team? Are the Bulldogs the physical team? I'm always going to go with the physical team on that. I think the Bulldogs are substantially better than the Express. But once again, they got to go to Erie. And I think it's a 4 o'clock game this time around. So they get an hour. So the playoffs look just like 75% what I hoped it would. On one side, you got the Outlaws Thunder. You got the rematch. Is someone finally gonna stop the Thunder from winning the GDFL? Is this new team, this Outlaws, are they gonna rise up and sweep them 3 straight against the Thunder? On the other side, had a good feeling the Dogs would be here. The Express told me they would be here. I didn't think they'd get past the Rockets until it was time to play the Rockets, and I saw all that information, and I was kind of hoping on the Rockets because I think that'll be a better game. But now it's got Dogs and Express, and the Dogs got to travel. I'm sure the Dogs have a bus. Are they there? How deep are they? Can everybody make it? Are they going up Friday night? Does some people have to work and they have to go up Saturday? Are those people going to be mentally unprepared as everyone else?
They did say they changed the kickoff to 6 p.m. actually.
It's 6, which would be 5 o'clock Nashville time. Okay, so that would allow them a little bit of leeway. I'm not sure exactly how far. I'm sure it's still an 8-9 hour trip.
Let's GPS it for you.
GPS it for me. So we're going to start with this one. Outlaws versus the Thunder. Outlaws are out here on new territory. Outlaws are out here, only lost 1 game, beat the Thunder twice, and they get to play them again for a chance to go to the GDFL championship.
It's a 9-hour drive.
It's a 9-hour drive. I thought so. I mean, it's 6 hours from here. We're 3 hours from Nashville, so it's kind of a little quick math there. But the Thunder, I feel like the Thunder are a much different playoff team. I feel like when the playoffs are now, when the time is nigh, I feel like the Thunder are going to get it done. But the Outlaws beat them twice. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I can make arguments both sides on this. What did the Outlaws take from the Thunder? What does the Thunder have left from last year? I do think the Thunder win this time. I think all those other 2, it's so tough to beat a team 3 times in a row, especially if both teams are somewhat even. Now, if you got a much better team playing a much worse team, it's not hard to do. But 2 somewhat even teams, I think this year's the Thunder. I think this time around it's the Thunder. The Thunder advances to the championship again. Other side of the bracket, Bulldogs versus the Express. I can't bet against the Bulldogs. In Nashville, in Erie, in South Dakota, in Alaska, Scott and Ricky are going to have those guys ready. Erie, the reason, it's nothing you done.
Who have
it's
you
not
played?
You, it's me. I saw one of the best quarterbacks in semi-pro that I thought I'd ever seen, Benny Conley, for the Dragons. I seen the Bulldogs make him run around like he was some kid from the park. He was just running for his life. I have a feeling the same's going to happen for Erie. I don't know if Erie can beat them. I don't know how well they're going to be able to score on that defense. The Dogs' offense seems to be hitting on all cylinders. You gave up 22 first half points to a backup quarterback, ended up giving up 28. I think Dogs win. And I think Dogs win by a couple touchdowns. That gives us a championship. Oklahoma Thunder versus the Middle Tennessee Bulldogs. Now, as much as they've wanted to distance themselves from this, that's pretty much Nashville Storm versus Oklahoma Thunder of 2 years ago. Thunder beat them. I don't know what the final score was. Apparently, that was the last game the Storm ever played. Now, here we are with the Bulldogs. I said just a little while ago, if the Bulldogs are focused, they can't be beat. I truly think the 2 games they lost, so the 1 game they lost to the Panthers in the national championship, and then the close game against the Colts that ended up in the tie, they weren't all there mentally. This year, this season, this week, this year, I think so. I think it's revenge, even though I think there would be something cool about... All right, let me just finish this thought. The Dogs win against the Thunder. I think it's a great game, but I think the Dogs ended up winning it to take the GDFL champion, 4th in 2 years, 4 seasons. So we really have 3 possible matchups, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we got 4 of the championship game. We got 4 possibles. I'll be honest with you, Oklahoma versus Erie in any point doesn't really entertain me. Because the irony in it all is you're Erie. You get to sit back here, and you get to have Huntsville drive to you, and you get to have Nashville drive to you. On the off chance that you win both those games, you now got to go to Birmingham, which I imagine is a pretty far trip. So now you're the one that's doing the driving. I don't know how far Oklahoma is from Birmingham, so maybe you would get a little break there. But that game just doesn't excite me. Erie versus any of the Oklahoma teams. Dogs versus Outlaws would be very interesting for its own reason. There wouldn't be much of a storyline there, but it would be something to be said about two first-year GDFL teams meeting in the championship game. It would give hope to future teams. I guess Erie could do the same, but if I'm not mistaken, well, this is the Dogs' second year and the Outlaws' first year. There's something entertaining about two first-year GDFL teams of this caliber competing. And then obviously the one that I want to see, the one I think we'll see, the one that provides the most storylines. If there's somewhere where the Oklahoma Thunder are talking smack, I'm sure it would be great to see Dogs Thunder rematch from the Battle of Weathers a couple years ago when it was Thunderstorm. So, in my opinion, as of right now, as of today, your GDFL champion 2018 will be the Middle Tennessee Bulldogs. To recap the three leagues that we've touched on, MSFA, I got the River City Hurricanes. BCFL, I have the Marion County Crusaders. And the GDFL, I have the Middle Tennessee Bulldogs. That is currently what I am just kind of looking at here to see what's going on.
And I'd have to agree with you on pretty much on all those picks as well.
Do what?
And I would have to agree with you with all those picks.
I mean, if I had to do a cop-out pick, if there was another pick that I couldn't pick those, I mean, I'm not counting out the Tanks. I'm not counting out the Spartans. I'm not counting out either of those Oklahoma teams. I just think these three that I mentioned to this point are next level.
And besides the Bulldogs, like I think the Thunder would have the best chance simply because they are your road warrior team. They travel really well.
Right, been here,
so, yeah.
done that. Which, by the way, what are you doing? You're distracting me over there.
I'm just.
Are we double live?
We're double live. We are doing some back studio stuff. Look here. That's all.
Okay.
Smile.
No, I don't know what's going on over there. All right, moving on to the PAFL. So to recap some of the games. Actually, the PAFL at this point, the Tier 1 is where we're starting. Didn't matter. I said coming into the week, I said this last week, PAFL Tier 1 did not matter solely because the brackets had been set. The only games that really occurred were Detroit Seminoles taking on the Southern Michigan Timberwolves and Ohio Raiders versus Lorain County Nightmares. Now, I called upset alert on, I flat out predicted that Lorain County would be the Raiders. And it's just solely based on the fact that the Raiders had nothing to play for. Lorain County was just trying to be out there. And, sorry about that. Lorain County ended up winning. 28-22, if I'm not mistaken. That one did not shock me. The other game, Nose versus SMT, that game had a little bit more to play for, even though the playoffs were set, because that's a preview of the playoff game we're about to see. That's a preview of can I withstand? And the Nose won 21-6. Looking at some of these teams, we got the playoff. Like I said, the playoffs are locked for the Tier 1. Actually, the playoffs are locked for all the tiers, but this one has been locked for a while. First matchup, we have the number 1 Columbus Fire taking on the number 8 Pittsburgh Rangers. The Fire are head and shoulders the best team in this league. The Rangers have struggled. The Rangers got... Actually, no, I take that back. The Wildcats, the WPA Wildcats did play the Pittsburgh Rangers, and the Wildcats won 47-0. The Rangers have struggled all year. Number 4 versus number 5, we have the Detroit Seminoles, Southern Michigan Timberwolves. That game just happened. We just saw it. We just witnessed it. 21-6, Detroit. Southern Michigan has been on a downtrend all year. If you own stock in those, you need to sell it now. That ship's about to sink. Detroit has just been sitting around, haven't really played anybody. Played a couple close games, lost to the Fire once. Other than that, they've been pretty uneventful. I even tried to check out their Facebook page. It hasn't been updated since mid last year. WPA Wildcats versus the Ohio Raiders. Round 3. That's number 3 versus number 6. WPA won both. The Raiders made it interesting the first time around, not so much the second time around. And then you have the number 2 NEO Predators taking on the Lorain County Nightmares. The Predators are my surprise, in a good way, team of Tier 1. Didn't really expect them. Now, they do come at a benefit of other teams tanking or taking that hit, but they played really nice. Got that upset win against the Wildcats. The way my playoffs are going to look on this, I got the Fire easily beating the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Nose beating the Timberwolves about the same way they did last week. The Nose just, even games they win, I don't see it being big. I think they only beat Highland Park by a couple points. They struggled the first time they played Southern Michigan Timberwolves. They won by 3. I see this one being by a couple touchdowns just because I think, like I said, that SMT is at an all-time low. Drop that if you can. And like I said, if this is a stock and you own it, drop it. Wildcats versus the Raiders. I think the Wildcats are on a whole new level, and I think the Raiders, I don't know if you've ever heard this term. Mike, have you ever heard the term? This is going to sound super silly, and I may have already said it on the show. Have you ever heard the term Peter Principle?
I've not heard that.
Basically, what that means, and not to bore anyone, but basically that means you have reached your potential. It means you're within a company, and you continue to climb, and you continue to promote until you reach the top of your skill. And then you inevitably end up falling because you have topped out. You've been promoted, and now you're at the top, and you're not quite qualified for that position. You're too qualified for the position below it, but not qualified enough for that position, and you end up inevitably failing.
You've hit your ceiling.
That is, in my opinion, that is the Ohio Raiders this season. They took some steps ahead. They beat some teams that you didn't think they would. They competed in some games you didn't think they should. And now they've topped out. WPA beats them by 20.
Ouch.
Lorain County Nightmares at the Predators. I've been seeing some things, just been hearing some rumblings that Nightmares offense is starting to click, starting to come together. I think this game's going to be close. But I think home field advantage, the Predators have their eyes on it. They are going to be reaching their quote-unquote principle here soon. They're going to be reaching the top of their season. But the Predators win this game. That leaves us to the next round. The Columbus Fire taking on the Detroit Seminoles. And the WPA Wildcat versus the NEO Predators. First time these guys played, supposedly they played in the preseason, it was like 55-13. The next time they played, it was 19-0. They may have even played again, and I just can't keep track. The Columbus Fire are going to win easily. I say 28-0. They're going to the championship, no questions asked. WPA versus NEO. NEO beat them the first time. There was some controversy around it. There was some questions about did the lights. I think the lights went off early, and then WPA said, "Hey, we're not going to travel back down there for 2 minutes and a half, 27 seconds, whatever it was." They didn't feel the need to travel back to. I think they're in Cleveland. Don't blame them, because it's going to get made up right here. Now they do have to go back to Cleveland. But I think this time they win, and they win pretty easily. I got WPA winning by 2 touchdowns. That gives us the Tier 1 PAFL Championship matchup of, and I don't know if we could ask for anything better, Columbus Fire taking on the WPA Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I think this might have been the matchup last year. Columbus won. I don't see any difference. I've heard that the Wildcats are going to have to make. They're not going to have to make. I think their actual starting quarterback's back. I think they had a backup that did quite well. I don't know if that'll play into a factor as the change up on offense. I just think the Fire are head and shoulders better than anyone in this league. I think the Fire, the Rockets, and the Bulldogs. If you played them on a neutral field, or if you played them at full capacity, those three teams are head and shoulder better than anyone that we cover. So once again, recap. Championship game, PAFL, Tier 1, Columbus Fire, WPA Wildcats. Fire end up winning. It'll probably be a close game, 26-20. Run down some of the championships we have before we run into Tier 2. I have MSFA, River City Hurricanes, BCFL, Marion County Crusaders, GDFL, Middle Tennessee Bulldogs, and the PAFL Tier 1, Columbus Fire.
And let me just break in real quick.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for all the viewers. I mean, we've been steady, about 40 to 50 viewers all show. We definitely love your guys' support. So just thank you for that, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And I'm sure many of them are waiting to prove me wrong. So, Tier 2, actually, Mike, even though my OCD tells me not to, I'm skipping Tier 2.
Oh, skipping it.
Tier 2 is just too exciting for me. I'm excited about what Tier 2 brings. Going straight into Tier 3. Tier 3, the playoff set. We have in one bracket, probably the easiest bracket that we know, we have the Mon Valley Sabres at number 1, taking on the number 4 Pitt East Storm. Number 2, Tri-County Phoenix, taking on the MV Rough Riders. This is one of those situations where the Rough Riders had a much better record than the Phoenix. If I'm not mistaken, they even demolished the Phoenix. But the Phoenix won their division. The Rough Riders didn't, lost a close one to the Sabres, and now the Rough Riders have to travel. On the other side of the bracket, we have the Southern Ohio Blaze sitting at number 1, taking on the River City Buccaneers at number 4. Then we have the West Virginia Storm hosting the Lima Warriors. Now, I am not really familiar with the travel that all this would take. So, if I say something wrong on this because of travel, I haven't taken it really into consideration, but I've looked at the ones that matter. I think the Mon Valley Sabres disposed of the Pitt East Storm pretty easily. The Storm they did get some players from the Ironman folding, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Sabres, even though they've had a lot of doubters this season, I think the Sabres are starting to click. Tri-County Phoenix hosting the Rough Riders. I know the Rough Riders are trending in the opposite direction. The Rough Riders just got demolished by the Strabane Spartans. I think the Rough Riders win this one. The Southern Ohio Blaze, no pun intended, they've been running hot. The Buccaneers thought they were a pretty solid team. They keep getting demolished by the West Virginia the West Virginia Storm, sorry. Oh, Southern Ohio Blaze win pretty easily. River City's had a good season. They've improved from last year in the MSFA, but this is where their playoffs run. Lima Warriors at the West Virginia Storm will probably be the best first-round game, maybe in Tier 1. Or maybe of all the tiers. I'm sorry, of all the tiers. I don't know. Never mind. Take that back. Tier 3's got some great. Tier 2's got some great ones. But it will definitely be the best game of this first round. The Storm will win close, which probably means Billy's going to gripe about it. And then they're going to win by a lot. Because I had them beating the Buccaneers by 6, and they demolished them 41-8. So he was quick to rub that in my face. After he admitted that they were going to travel light and would probably be close. So thanks for admitting I was right before proving me wrong. Conference champions in the Tier 3. Mon Valley Sabres taking on the MV Rough Riders. That's a game I want to see. They've been a lot of smack talking. Sabres snuck out a game earlier in the season. Rough Riders don't feel like that was fair, and they want revenge.
They don't think anything's fair, do they?
Fair is the place you go to judge pigs. Other side of the bracket, the matchup that we haven't got to see, but we've all wanted to. Southern Ohio Blaze hosting the West Virginia Storm.
I'm bringing popcorn.
It's going to be some good games. That travel's going to hurdle. Billy Coe says he's never lost in Cincinnati.
Oh.
Rough Riders want that revenge on the Sabres. Sabres seem to be playing about the best they have all tier season. I got the Rough Riders pulling out a close one, maybe even coming back from behind. I think the Sabres. I don't know what I said. I got the Rough Riders pulling ahead early, and I got the Sabres coming from behind, getting the win. And sorry, Billy Coe, I got the Blaze sending the Storm home. I think this is the Blaze year. Let's watch and see.
They're nice.
I've often said that the Mon Valley Sabres had a stroll, had a nice leisurely walk to the championship game. Here they are. Southern Ohio Blaze have been more tested. They had a pretty close game against the Warriors twice. They'll have a close game against the Storm. I think the championship game is in Cincinnati. Not sure, though. Someone let me know. Your Blaze are going to be your Tier 3 champion. I just think that side of the bracket, those teams, that gauntlet is much better than the Fold Fest, Cheer Fest, Chill Fest that's been going on in the, I believe it's the Stars. What's being said over there, Mike?
Oh, you made T2 guys mad, man.
T2?
Yeah, they're skipping them like that.
Well, that's good. Because I'm saving the best for last.
Give the people what they want.
Well, they got to hang on. They got to wait. You don't just start out by eating. You go to a nice restaurant, you don't start out, hey, before you bring me anything, where's my filet mignon?
Right.
No.
Give me that bread first.
Eat your bread. You then get your food. And then you enjoy your steak. 'Cause I'm telling you, that T2 bracket is nice looking.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. Especially in the stripe side. Because I'll be honest with you, I've made this bracket about 100 times. Well, probably not that many. But I made it a lot trying to figure out. And I had to keep going back. And I had to keep looking. And I had to keep saying, hey, you know, who gets to play here? And I pulled up Google Maps. I said, hey, how far has this team got to travel? I tried to look through these trash talk pages. Do I see history of poor travel? Do I see this team, you know, is it supposed to rain in this area? I took a lot of pride in Tier 2 because it's so exciting. So you can be mad. Just be patient. And then mad.
Don't be
and then
mad.
now you're about to be even more mad when you hear my predictions. Because, spoiler alert, for every tournament ever, there can only be one winner. So when I started this in week 1, whether I'm doing it now, every other team but one is going to lose. And I don't care if you're the size of the MSFA with 8 teams, only one team can win. 7 are going to lose. Or you're the GDFL that started with 35, 34 are going to lose, and one's going to win. That's how brackets work. So I'm going to run through the matchups, and I'm going to circle back around, and we're going to pick some of them. And these are, from my understanding, these are set in stone with the Ohio Valley Saints forfeiting their last game against Cincinnati Chiefs. We have the number 1, and I believe this is the Stripes matchup, the one that's on the left side of the page. Strabane Spartans. Actually, this might be the Stars. Strabane Spartans taking on the 8 seed Westmoreland Wolves. Spartans, y'all begged for that respect. Y'all said, give it to me. I had y'all losing a bunch of games. Hey, y'all proved me wrong. I'll be the first to admit it. This is my Eating Crow game. You guys are number 1 seed. You guys lost that one forfeit. You demolished the Rough Riders here of late. Westmoreland Wolves, you're in this position because you took a little snap. You took a little siesta halfway through the season. You lost your quarterback. You lost your offensive coordinator. You took a nice little relaxing break.
Weren't they even on Fold Watch for a little while there?
What?
And were they even on Fold Watch
they were
for a
on
little
Fold
while?
Watch, yeah. Baywatch, all of it. Chilling.
Watch for them, man. Watch for them.
Then we got number 4 versus number 5. Number 4, the Cleveland Rams. Y'all had the opportunity to be the number 3 seed, if I'm not mistaken, and then you lost to the Wolves. You needed that game. Number 5, NEO Silverbacks. We've talked about this. I don't know what to think about you. I said, hey, this team might be good. Started losing. I said, hey, this team's not any good. Started winning. Hey, this team might be okay. Beat the Canton Pitbulls in their coffin of doom. I'm excited about that one. Number 3, Iron City Legends. Taking on the number 6 Summit County Storm. Iron City Legend, that's boring. That's wheat bread. They got these plain uniforms, winning these close games, 14-6. I don't know if they've scored more than 20 all season. I'm sure if they have, somebody will let me know.
Of course.
Summit County Storm, I had high expectations. The Storm come out to be a slight drizzle. You let me down a little bit, Storm, but you're still in the playoffs. There's still hope for you. Number 2 versus number 7, Canton Pitbulls taking on the Pittsburgh Saints. Pittsburgh Saints, I'm putting you up there with the Iron City Legends. You're just meh, middle of the road. You're rice, no flavor. No, you're not bad. You're not horrible. I don't got to throw you away, but I'm not no hurry to support you. I'm not excited about it. Canton Pitbulls. I don't know what happened. You brought a coffin and now you land in it and it cost you number 1 seed. You're playing. I know you lost your quarterback, and I don't know how long he's out. I don't know if he's back for the playoffs. I know he's been out the last couple games, and it showed. You've won some close ones, and you lost a game. I think you lost 2. I think he was out during the Marion County game. Got to get that together. Other side of the bracket, the filet mignon of all brackets, the veal, the whatever you're into, whatever food you like. This is that bracket. Number 1, Michigan Hurricanes taking on the Tri-County Crusaders. This game's not going to be interesting, but it could be. It could have some interesting plot points because, from my understanding, the Michigan Hurricanes needed to win by 53 points to lock up that number 1 seed. They went out and won by 58. Some would call it run up the score. I could care less. If you don't like it, stop it. But they needed that number 1 seed. They got it against the Tri-County Crusaders. The Crusaders have pulled out a couple of shocking wins, at least by my standards. They beat the Summit County Storm. Didn't think that would happen. They beat the Lima Warriors. Didn't think that would happen. And they just got demolished by the Michigan Hurricanes. Now they got to face them again. A game I alluded to earlier in the show. Number 4, Butler County Broncos hosting the number 5 Dayton Hornets. Hornets beat the Broncos 8-0. Broncos are a pretty solid team. I think the Hornets are a much better team, but now they got to go on the road. Ain't that far of a travel, but that's a great first-round game. Number 3 versus number 6, Cincinnati Chiefs versus the Highland Park Polar Bears. The Chiefs, they are who you thought they were. They're a solid team. They got some playmakers. They got a good quarterback. They did lose a game to the Hornets. They lost some kind of circus show against the Fire that has now been deemed 15-7 final early in the game. They're the 3 seed because they did lose that game. That's crazy. You lose one game. I show you how tough that is. You lose one game and you're automatically the 3 seed. And if you hadn't, if somehow the Saints could have pulled off an upset next week, had that game happened, you could have found yourself at the 5 seed. Crazy. Highland Park, I don't know. You lose some games. I don't think you should. You came close to beating the Seminoles. I don't know what to think about you. I mean, you got some cool uniforms, and I don't know if Michigan has polar bears, but I'm rooting for you. I just don't know if it's enough. Columbus War Eagles, number 2, hosting the number 7 Ohio Rage. The Rage snuck in by having both. This playoff team, this playoff game, in my opinion, is just a buffet of bad scheduling. If the Columbus War Eagles, which I was on them with their schedule to win quite a few games, and they did, if they had been playing the Chiefs schedule, they would not be here. They would not, at least not be at this spot. If the Rage had played the Broncos schedule, I don't know, the bottom half of the tier 2 kind of falls off. But there have been a lot of folds. But I feel like the Crush is a better team than the Rage. The Crush is out of the playoffs, and the Rage is in, just solely based on schedule. So you got the War Eagles, who are sitting at that number 2, had the number 1 seed locked up until the Hurricanes went nuts and scored 53. And now they're sitting at number 2, hosting the Ohio Rage. So moving on, next round. So that's your matchups. Let's dive into them a little bit. Strabane, the Spartans, 300, whatever you call yourself. Westmoreland's coming. They're playing the best ball that they've played all season. It's not going to matter. You're all going to win by 2 touchdowns. Cleveland Rams, NEO Silverback. You lose that last game of the season, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. I mean, obviously it's a tournament, but if you lose, either you're going to drag that horrible performance in and you're going to lose, or it's going to motivate you and you're going to go on a run. I don't see the latter of it happening. I think the NEO Silverbacks are playing really good right now. I think they beat the Rams to move on. Iron City Legends versus the Summit Storm. As boring as they play, I think there's something. Certain teams play boring. They win. They never dominate, but they never get blown out. I always give those teams the benefit of the doubt a lot of times because they know their identity. I talk about the Canes a lot. I don't know when the last time the Canes have beat somebody in the MSFA, the River City Hurricanes. I don't know how many times they have demolished somebody. They won a lot of games. I think their worst loss ever was to the Bulldogs, 30-0. Other than that, they're losing 14-0, 14-6, and they're winning 14, 20-6, something like that. Those teams know their identity. I think the Iron City Legends know their identity enough to beat the Summit County Storm. Canton Pit Bulls, like I said, I need to know, is that quarterback back? Even if he's not, I mean, this is going to be a blowout win. But for the next game and the week after, they're going to need their quarterback back. Trade that coffin in for him. Michigan Hurricanes take on the Tri-County Crusaders. The Michigan Hurricanes are going to win. Obviously, by not as much as they did last time. They don't have as much to prove. They just need to get this win and get out of here. Butler County Broncos and the Dayton Hornets. This is a coin flip game. It's at Butler County. It's the playoffs. Butler County won their league last year. Yes, it wasn't the PAFL. Yes, they didn't play a game like the Hornets. The Hornets are a great team. Solid offense, studly defense. Dayton's not that far from Butler County. I got the Hornets winning this one close. It might actually be somewhat high scoring, but it'll be a close win. Chiefs versus the Highland Park Polar Bears. I got the Chiefs winning easy. And the Columbus War Eagles versus the Ohio Rage. I got the War Eagles winning by 2 touchdowns. Next round, moving on. We got number 1 Strabane Spartans taking on the NEO Silverbacks. Silverbacks took down a giant once in Canton. Can they do it again in the Spartans? No, they cannot. I'm telling you, the Spartans, apparently they made it to 3 or 4. Look, I'm not jumping ship. I know I misrepresented the Spartans early on, and then I've been sitting back watching. You know, as much as I dog the teams like the Gladiators and the Rough Riders and the Airborne for yelling, look at me, and then you trip. But if you say, hey, look at me, and you do good, I'm going to give you the respect. I'm not a hater. Not all the time, anyway. Since they started yelling, look at me, they've won 3 straight games. They lost a close game to the WPA Wildcats, and then they demolished the Rough Riders. Now they're getting their love. Canton Pit Bulls hosting the Iron City Legends in the second round. Quarterfinals, if you will. Canton, this is going to be a little closer game. I still got them winning 20-0, 20-6, something along those lines. This is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. Michigan Hurricanes at the Dayton Hornets, hosting the Dayton Hornets. The Hornets have to go to Michigan. Hornets, I've seen you guys face adversity. I've seen you guys kind of hanging. I've seen you guys lose to the Chiefs. I've seen you guys beat the Chiefs. I've seen you guys kind of hang in there like a hare in some food versus the Columbus Fire. I've seen you beat the Broncos. The Hurricanes, you demolished SMT, and you demolished about everybody else you've played, but I also saw you lose to the Crusaders. So I'm torn. I think this is a 50-50 game. I think this is one of those situations where Dayton is the better team, but the fact that they are home is going to be the difference maker. I got the Michigan Hurricanes pulling off the quote-unquote upset, even though it's not by the records. I do think Dayton's the better team. Hurricanes will win. Columbus War Eagles hosting the Cincinnati Chiefs. Sorry, Cincinnati and Columbus is not enough of a home field advantage. War Eagles, your dream season ends here. Chiefs win, and probably win by a lot. Down to the Final Four. And there's really several ways this could play out, and we all want to see it. I got the Strabane Spartans hosting the Canton Pit Bulls, and the Michigan Hurricanes hosting the Cincinnati Chiefs. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'm going to pretend to know. I'm going to act like I know. I'm going to talk like I know, but I don't know. I don't know either one of these. I don't know how these are going to turn out. As of today, Canton is just kind of playing slower. Strabane, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. Now, if they don't lose that chip on the shoulder and the Pit Bulls don't get it together, Spartans are going to win this one. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know what's up with that quarterback. When's he coming back? Is he back? How long is he back? What's the situation? Until I know more, Strabane Spartans win this, moving to the Tier 2 championship game. Cincinnati Chiefs at Michigan Hurricanes. Once again, this is going to be the theme of these playoffs. When we get to these bigger leagues, this is going to be the theme. Cincinnati, in my opinion, is the better team. They have the better offense. They have the better defense. They have the better history. They have the better uniforms. They have the better whatever. This game's in Michigan, though. By the transitional property, just the Chiefs beat the Comets. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at that. The Comets did lose to the Crusaders, who also beat the Canes. I'm going to use that crazy math, even though it don't really even out to anything. It's like saying 2 + 2 = 5. I'm going to use that to say I think even on the road, it's going to be a super close game. I think the Chiefs are going to come from behind. They're going to get down early, and they're going to come from behind because Michigan's going to let their guard down, and the Chiefs are going to beat the Hurricanes, setting up a PAFL Tier 2 championship game. Cincinnati Chiefs taking on the Strabane Spartans. One sentence that I seen the commissioner post that's going to make this the difference for me. The winner of the Chiefs bracket of that conference hosts the championship game. I don't know any team in Tier 2 that in a championship game could go into Cincinnati and get a win. I don't know if it's Strabane. I don't think it's Strabane. I don't think it's Dayton. I don't think it's Butler County. I don't think it's the Michigan Hurricanes. I don't think it's Canton Pit Bulls. I think that side of the bracket is winning either way. Sorry, Spartans. Sorry, Pit Bulls. I know I had the Pit Bulls being in the runner-up for the longest. I'm seeing some things changing now that I've had confirmation that that side of the bracket is hosting the championship game. This isn't going to be a neutral site. This isn't going to be both teams meeting at X City. This is going to be the winning bracket host the championship game. So the Spartans / Pit Bulls are either going to have to go to Cincinnati, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know where Strabane is, so I haven't quite looked that up. But Cincinnati at home, Michigan at home. I got the Chiefs winning the championship. The PAFL Tier 2 champions will be the Cincinnati Chiefs. That is my prediction. So we're going to recap what we said here. Just to kind of go. And I'm going to put a number on it. I'm feeling real froggy right now, so I'm going to put a number on it. In the MSFA, River City Hurricanes will beat the Kentucky Spartans 14-6. In the BCFL, the Marion County Crusaders will beat the West Portsmouth Tanks 14-10.
Let me write this down.
Write it down. In the GDFL Championship, the Middle Tennessee Bulldogs will beat the Oklahoma Thunder 24-17. In the PAFL Tier 1, the Columbus Fire will play and beat the WPA Wildcats 26-20. Tier 2, the Cincinnati Chiefs will beat the Strabane Spartans 38-24. And Tier 3, the Southern Ohio Blaze will beat the Mon Valley Sabres 22-10, 22-8. I'm calling it. I'm probably gonna be way off with everything, but that's what I'm calling right now. What's your thoughts on all that, Mike?
Well, Strabane is south of Pittsburgh, about 20 minutes from what people are saying here on the group, just to help you out there. As far as all those picks, I agree with everything except for T2.
T2, what do you think on T2?
I really, the Chiefs, like, they've been so up and down this season that I don't know if they can string 3 games in a row, to win a championship. Yes, they are at home. That they are going to be a top seed, aren't they?
I mean, they're going to be a 3 seed.
Yeah, so they'll have a majority of home games, if not all home games.
So this is usually the part I like to dive in here and talk to some of the things I see posting. I see a lot of people talking about where Strabane is, but so Oliver, for example, Oliver OG, I know OG, played with him for a couple years with the Bucks. He says I'm drunk. Not yet. In about an hour.
Wait until RTF Sports Talk tomorrow afternoon.
What?
I said wait till RTF Sports Talk tomorrow
That's
afternoon.
when I like to get nice and set. See, once again, he thinks the Canes are winning. And that's fine. He can think that about his team. Don't expect me. What happened to you against the Crusaders?
Ooh.
I think the Chiefs are more on the long line of the Crusaders. Now, who's this we? Romel Holmes, who do you play for?
I'm not for
Look
sure.
at there.
That's the
Trying
one
to
thing
see.
he's.
You don't have his picture next to anything. Well, let's see. Let's see who he plays for.
We need a picture with your profile.
Romel Holmes, who do you play for? I see you talking about we winning. Who is we?
Rough Riders, probably.
He better not be a Rough Rider. Well, it can't be. It's tier 2 talk. Well, let me know if he said anything. Let me go see what's going on here. What's old Billy Cole been getting into?
He said, "We winning." Mark my words. Who do you play for? Or
The Nintendo Wii? That's outdated. All right. I don't know. If he wants to talk about who he thinks is winning. Oh, he's a Hurricane? All right. He's not winning. He's drinking just like OG. Thanks, I am. All right. So, this is usually, like I said, this is usually the portion of the show where I interact with everybody, mainly because by this point my phone's still got enough battery to chat with some people. All right. So I like the way no one answers, and then here comes 500 people. Okay, so this guy thinks the comments are going to win. I just don't see them getting past. I just don't see them winning on the road. But if you got any questions, if you got any statements, anything you'd like to shout out there, I guess your team's winning it.
Romel
Oliver,
pays for the
if
Hurricanes.
you don't win, you got to send me your jersey. OG, if the Canes do not win tier 2, you got to send me your jersey.
Washed, preferably.
I care less. I'll wash it. I got to wash it. We good, Oliver? You into that? So let's hear some of your opinions on who you think's going to win it. I see Joe's checking back in. Joe, if you're going to watch long enough, you guys have convinced me. Well, I don't know, maybe not completely you guys, but I've seen enough to be convinced that that I think you guys are going to win the MSFA. I don't know, Oliver. What do you want if you do? Let me know. I mean, I'll get a Hurricanes tattoo. I don't know. That's probably a little bit. I'm gonna pump the brakes on that one. But
The Rough Riders are not going to win.
Rough Riders, nope.
Joe had the runs.
I seen. Well, that's rough, Joe. Probably because I seen the stuff, Joe. I seen the stuff you put your son through. I mean, I know he wanted to get bigger, but that might have been it's wrong. Canes, Canton win tiers 2. How do you? What's? All right, Oliver. I'm just gonna get it's gonna be like just some kind of like janky, just prison style tattoo.
Like on the butt or the ankle?
Inner thigh.
Inner thigh.
Where's James Morris when I need him? Erie's going to win the GDFL. I just don't think so. The casket's now on eBay. Go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, well, I'm just saying.
And just for the record, I really like what Joe Elder went live on the page on the Kentuckiana page on Saturday, I think it was. Like, he had me rolling. Like,
I didn't get a chance to see it.
Basically, people dog their field and the field that they were supposed to play with versus the Fury was the middle of a cornfield.
Well, Lucci, I think the BCFL is going to do it. They're going to do it top 3. The division winners are going to. The division winners are top 3 seeds based on record, and then everyone else falls in the final 3.
Sabres are quick.
I just don't see it. I just don't see the Mon Valley Rough Riders winning it. All right. Now maybe this is more of a cop out, but just because we'll probably talk about this more next week.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that I think. So back to the MSFA. There's really 2 tiers. No pun intended to what the BC or the PAFL do. The teams that have an actual shot at winning it is the Canes and Spartans. That's the only two teams that, if for some reason one of the other two were to get upset, that would just be pure easy street for the other team.
And the only way I see an upset happening is if the Hurricanes jump down to the 3rd seed and they got to travel to the Airborne. That's the only way I see an upset happening.
Then,
the only way.
Even then, that means the Airborne play the Spartans in the championship game. I think the Spartans win it easily. Only two teams that stand a chance in the MSFA are the River City Hurricanes and the Kentucky Spartans.
Are you selling on the Cavs?
I gotta be careful because we're talking about Spartans and Hurricanes from a different league.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get confused.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about. Well, you could see a Strabane Spartans Michigan Hurricane. That'd be interesting. But right now, MSFA, the only two teams that stand a chance are the River City Hurricanes, Kentucky Spartans. Only two teams that stand a chance. Everybody else fits in a box. You're just trying to get an upset. BCFL. Only 3 teams stand a chance at winning a championship. And, Joe, I just see your post. If you weren't watching earlier, I done claimed it. 8-4 does not matter. Since the championship game, since they've done away with the divisions, 8-4 does not matter because it's going to be Kane Spartans at the turf field.
Well, the only way it matters is who's traveling to the Airborne.
I mean, even then, I don't know. I don't have that much faith in the Airborne. BCFL, there's only 3 teams that stand a chance. Gladiators, Tanks, and Comets.
I agree.
Without even going in prediction, these 3 teams are the only 3 teams that stand a shot.
I gotta kind of throw the Dukes in there.
The Dukes do not. You gotta remember the Dukes have been waxed by all 3 teams except for the Comets. They beat them,
but they're clicking and they're just hanging around if ball jumps their way.
Second little area where they're just kind of the middle child. They're not bad enough and they're not good enough. And then I think the Gladiators and the Saints, they're burnt toast, throw them away.
Now,
no chance.
I'm not saying they're a championship team, but they could upset one of those teams in the second round.
Yeah, but I'm talking like I've given my predictions. Everything else is just all jokes aside, all my predictions aside. These are the teams like we did earlier in the season. If you're riding on a plane, the teams that stand a chance at winning a championship are first class.
And you're right. I totally agree with that.
Then there's a first class. Then there's like a coach that's we're not trash. And then there's the cargo. Get rid of them. If the BCFL was a plane, Comets, Tanks, Crusaders, first class. Dukes are the only team still in coach, and then back in the cargo waiting to be dumped out is Gladiators and Saints. GDFL on the other side, we're to the point in the playoffs where everybody's first class. I could see every team winning the championship.
Except for Erie.
If I had to give a ranking on it, the Bulldogs have the best chance. The Thunder, because they've been there, I think the Bulldogs are the most complete team. Mm-hmm. They're the deepest team. They're the best ran team. I think they have the best chance. I think the Thunder have been there, done that, and they know how to get it done. The Outlaws, I don't think they could do it, but I don't think they can. And Erie, I just think Erie's been cruising for so long. Now that second half versus the Rockets could be their turnaround, but
let me jump in on this. Okay, let's say the Thunder beat the Outlaws and make it to the championship.
Okay.
And they play Erie. It's a Thunder game, 100%.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Outlaws have been the Thunder's kryptonite all year. They beat them twice or 3 times.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Not to go off on too much of a tangent, but 2014 college basketball I found so interesting. As a Kentucky fan, we beat Louisville twice.
Yep.
Louisville demolished UConn 3 times. UConn beat Florida twice. The only team to beat them twice. And then Florida beats Kentucky 3 times. So it's a cycle of of teams beating up on other teams but can't beat the other team.
It's all about matchups.
That's what we could have here.
Yeah. I mean, like, if the Thunder beat the Outlaws, the Thunder have a very good possibility of winning that championship. If the Outlaws beat the Thunder, I don't see the Outlaws winning the championship.
I'm with you there. That's why I had them at 3. Mm-hmm. And to kind of go in here, see, the conversation that's happening right now is my opinion or my thoughts on rankings. So, like example, when I put out my rankings, I get 2 types of reactions. people who like what I have to say, and we were talking about this earlier when we were talking about second opinions from doctors, right?
Yeah.
Well, the patients here get second opinions from polls. If you notice, when I post my national rankings, the teams that like what I have to say, they share it, they get behind it, they brag about it, they say, boom, we are number whatever in the country. Teams that don't like what I have to say, oh, this ain't a real ranking. This isn't real. This isn't, as if there's some committee out there that means anything to anybody. So what made me think that is they're talking right here, and this guy said that they beat Huntsville, who was number one the whole season. No, Huntsville has not been number one the whole season in my ranking or the GDFL ranking. But somebody probably did, and that fits their argument.
Yeah. I mean, but like we did have them for number one for what, good
We did.
7 weeks
until
maybe? Yeah.
Actually, I had Middle Tennessee ranked number one for the longest.
Okay, yeah.
Well, what
I'm sorry.
happened was Huntsville barely beat Chattanooga. They beat them 20-18. And then Middle Tennessee blasted Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So I was like, that seals it right there. And then Huntsville beat Middle Tennessee. So it's been all over the place. Moving on.
Thanks, Chuck, by the way.
Pulling out, thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Pulling out the plane of Tier 1. For being realistic, in the cargo is Lorraine and Pittsburgh, the Rangers. In coach, you got the Predators, the Raiders, the Seminoles, and SMT. And SMT really lost their seat. They're kind of a stand-in.
Yeah.
And then in first class, you have a really of a weird look. You have WPA, who I think is a competitor, and they're sitting in first class, but you just got the Columbus Fire piloting that ship.
Yeah.
They can dump anything at any time. That's probably, if there was a league that I felt the most confident that it's a one-team show, it would have to be Tier 1.
And I have to agree with that.
I just haven't seen anybody compete with them at that level.
Now, I'm not saying that they're going to blow them out 100%, but it's going to be a pretty dominant championship game on the Fire side. You know, like
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like
I
it'll
could
be
easily see that.
like it might be a 20-0 score, but the score will not reflect of how dominant they've
I
actually
think
been.
whatever
that
the
game.
score is, I actually picked 26-20, but I think it, like you said, it could start 20-0. They get a couple touchdowns
just
late,
kinda
but it's
relax,
one
yeah.
maybe with like 10 seconds left, and there's no chance of getting the ball back. Moving to Tier 2. Now, Tier 2, that plane is crowded. Every team in the playoffs, there's 16 teams in the playoff. 10 of them are in first class or coach. But the first class, and I got to go back to look at everything. I mean, teams that I got that if you told me these teams won Tier 2, I would be like, okay, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Strabane Spartans,
Solid.
Canton Pitbulls,
Solid.
Michigan Hurricanes, Dayton Hornets, Cincinnati Chiefs. There's 5 teams in that league. That team right there. I could see any, depending on how the dice rolls, depending on like if Butler County was to upset Dayton, just anything, the butterfly effect where you step on a bug. You know, if somebody steps on a bug the wrong way on in one of the first rounds. You know, and I mean that sounds silly, but I mean it's serious.
Yeah.
You know, somebody loses a quarterback, this whole thing changes. So there's 5 teams in Tier 2 that could win the championship.
And I really like the Hornets for some reason. Like the Hornets should just like stick out.
The Hornets are a first-year
to me
team. I
and
know
just-
they've been built up of other year teams, but I really like them as well.
And Lucius, just to comment on your point there, I believe Matt does have the Chiefs winning Tier 2, correct?
I do.
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely giving them all the credit in the world. Now, if they have to travel, we've heard that they can't travel. So
right.
let's hopefully
And then in Tier 3, I think in Tier 3 the has-nots have kind of let themselves out.
Yeah.
I think you definitely put the Blaze up there. I think you put the Warriors up there, or not the. I don't. Why do I keep saying the Warriors? Because I don't think the Warriors can do it. They've lost to the Blaze twice. I think you put the West Virginia Storm up there. I think you got to put the Sabres up there just by how easy their bracket is.
And speaking of the Storm, Cole says he does have some tricks up his sleeve. So I don't know if he's bringing out some more players that he's been kind of just.
They got to travel.
Yeah.
And you know,
did they buy the Lightning
Mon
bus?
Valley guy, not Mon Valley, MV Mongjiang Valley or whatever they're called. The MV Rough Riders. I can't argue with his logic.
Yeah.
That they barely lost to the Sabres. If they can somehow pull that upset, and teams have to go to them out in Narnia or wherever they play, that could work in their favor. I just don't think they're going to get there. So I don't know. I think there's only a 3-team race. I think it's really only a 2-team. The other teams are just kind of groupies that want to be there.
Yeah.
I think it's either going to be the Blaze or the Storm.
Yeah, and like the Blaze have been proving themselves pretty much all year, so you kind of roll with
But
them.
it goes with everything else. They're aside from, I'd say, the Fire and the Bulldogs, I could give you a team and I can show you 10 people who say they're proven, I like their style, and I can give you the same 10. I can give you 10 different people about the same teams say, oh, they haven't played nobody, they can't travel, their home fields are trash, they lost their coach, they lost their quarterback.
That's making them stronger. I mean, like, you go through all those. If you go through all that stuff, it's making you stronger for the playoffs. Because, like, if you lost a quarterback week 3, even playing with a backup, doing a 500 team, and you get that quarterback back in the playoffs,
guys,
I mean, I like
as we calm down, Billy Co. As we wrap up the season here at Crosstalk, we're still going to be going. We're still going to be pumping out these shows. I still want to be on just as long. There's not really any set time limit. I just kind of go until I don't go anymore.
He goes until my wife says go home.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, what we're going to start doing, though, is we're going to start cutting out the fat. In the MSFA, I'm only going to start talking about like 3 or 4 teams. In the BCFL, I'm only going to talk about 3 or 4 teams. The GDFL, by next week, will be down to a championship game. You know, by next week, the PAFL will be down to 4. The Tier 2 will be down to 8. Tier 3 will be down to 4. So these teams, no one that we don't really hear much for, I'm not going to be talking about. But I'm going to need more help from you guys to give me the better insight. The more insight I can get on a team, especially this time of the year, like whoever the 2 teams in the championship of the GDFL is, I want to talk to their owners, and I'd love to have them on the show. I would love to just carve out some time to talk to them, because you've earned that. You know, you've earned the right to be the champion. And really, probably, I think once everything's all said and done, I'm going to have like a show where announce like guys who we think's like been the MVP.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably give like a final grade on just what the overall team thoughts of these teams were. But until then, Joe, you never let me down, man.
And I did see somebody said that the Chiefs are set to travel during the playoffs, so we'll see if that actually holds true, I guess.
Michael, Robert, John, Morris, what Crusaders?
He was talking about Marion County.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole BCFL breakdown. I mean,
yeah, like he says we weren't giving them any love. We picked them to win the championship.
Yeah, I picked them to win. How is that not love?
Apparently, we're hating because we didn't pick them to blow them out, I guess.
So let's just kind of look and see what's going on in the old chat machine. Billy Co says he's calm. He still wants. So I mean, Mike, Robert, John, Morris, Crusaders, and
how many names do you got, man?
Look, go back, check it out. I mean, I don't know. Other than winning the championship, I don't know what more respect you could want. Joe Elder, you always keep it with the information. Which, please let that Colts game happen.
Just don't embarrass him too bad. And as just to come back to that Fire point where I believe it was Lucius that said that the Chiefs competed with the Fire, and then he has come back and said that since the Chiefs competed like with the Fire are not in their own league. They're still in their own. They're still in their own league. I mean,
now I don't know. I've lost what's going on here. Stuff in PFL will shake up in a couple weeks because Erie. Why do I got to read that stupid thing?
While Matt's scrolling through his phone here, guys, just make sure we give us a thumbs up, a like, a heart. a laughy face, any type of interaction like with the show.
So
like
apparently we got
like
some guys.
it will help it
now,
grow.
So guys from Erie, because I kind of read a little bit what he's saying. Phil Henderson, the guys from Erie, what team are they going to? With PA team, like this thing pops up every time I try to click see more, and I can't see what he's saying.
I believe
with
they
the
were
Pit
talking
Bulls
about
and
the
Ohio
Erie join the PAFL next season. I think that's what they were. I think that's what.
Yeah, I think he's got them.
Yeah.
He's got guys joining the Pit Bulls and the Raiders. So where's the quarterback going? Where's that Hannah kid? Where'd he go? Because that can make a difference. If he goes to the Pit Bulls, that can make a difference.
Lucius, how can you win 4 rings?
Well, he's already got one with the Dogs.
Okay.
From the spring.
Yeah.
He's thinking he's going to get one with the Comets. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not with the Dogs again in the summer.
Is it not kind of summertime?
Huh? It does, but I wouldn't. Because, like, for example, he could play with the Dogs this weekend and next weekend in the championship.
I got you.
Win that ring, and then can come back and finish out the run with the Comets.
That's ridiculous.
And he could probably, because none of this will happen on the same weekend, in theory, he could win one with the Dogs, he could win one with the Comets, and he could win one with the Chiefs, in theory.
Well, shoot. If that's the case, why don't you go to 5 and join in with the Hurricanes? They're picking up everybody else.
So he is on. So the guy is on the Erie's and the Raiders roster. So that will be interesting. Phil, that could be beneficial unless Erie makes it to the championship game. He's in the championship game while Hannah is Hannah's in the championship game while the Raiders are playing their first round game against WPA.
The Raiders from the Tier 2 team?
The Tier 1.
Oh, Tier 1.
Ohio Raiders. I think they need him to get past WPA, and if the off chance that they got to play, if they both got to play on the same day, I would imagine if he had his druthers, he would play in the GDFL championship over a first round game.
Matt, let me ask you this. Let's say you are playing say this is back in 2016 and you're playing on the Bucks team.
Okay.
And you have a quarterback that you rely on week in and week out, but he's with 3 different teams. Are you really supporting him? Do you want him to be your guy?
I mean, in a perfect world, no.
I mean, I just think this is crazy for guys playing on 3 or 4 different teams.
Your guy would be dedicated to you, but I mean, talent rules everything. I mean, if you got a guy who's coming out here on just ungodly levels of passing, running, and he plays a position like quarterback who is not always available for everyone. That's a rarity.
It's hard to find.
You kind of deal with it. You kind of be okay with it, and just like people do in relationships. Just like when you're talking to a girl, but she's also talking to 3 other dudes. If you more than likely you're in denial about it. More than likely you're like, yeah, she's talking to these 3 other dudes, but I'm her number 1. If you got this quarterback, more than likely he's registered for them, but he's going to play on my team when it comes down to it, and that's what you tell yourself. And I'm sure that's what everybody tells themselves. That's why the other teams are like, oh, but if he gets a chance, he's coming to us.
I wouldn't want to have to rely on him to pick a team. I want to know that he will be there and we can prepare, mentally prepare, and know that our leader's there. But that's just my opinion, I guess. And I did see that Phil said, and the Erie have a few linemen going to the Pit Bulls. So I mean,
right now
Erie might be imploding from the inside out.
That
from the
might be. Well, Erie, what they're doing is because the league is finishing so soon. Like those guys aren't leaving.
Okay, so
they're going to play Saturday against the Dogs. But let's just say they lose. They're all going to hop onto the Canton bus.
I got you.
And be close to a chance. Now, but my question is, and this is kind of what I hope for when I see that. How bad do you feel if you play in 3 leagues? If you're like Lucius here and you play in 3 leagues and you lose in all 3 championship or semifinal games?
Right.
It's tough to lose one
I'm
playoff
mad.
game.
I mean, I'm pissed.
You lose 3 playoff games? Sit down. Have a seat. Pull up a chair. You're doing too much.
Should have stuck with one team. Give it your all, I guess.
So, I mean, he played. Like I said, I don't know if I don't think the Raiders. Now, if he went to the Pit Bulls, because I know the Pit Bulls are down a quarterback, I think Hannah would make a huge difference there. I just don't know what. I'm just curious to see what he does against the Bulldogs, which the Bulldogs game will be broadcasted on some level. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or if you'll just have to listen to it. I'm excited because obviously I'm not going to Erie. So, but I'm excited to see. I'm excited to be just informed on the Express Bulldogs game.
It's definitely going to be a good game either way. So,
all right, guys.
Bulldogs pull it out though.
I guess we will wrap it up there. Hopefully you wrote down my predictions so you can rub in my face when I'm wrong. But next week, we're going to just kind of look at some things. Next week, we're going to be talking MSFA. All we're talking about is Canes Spartans. That 8-4 game, even though I don't think it means much anymore, it's going to steer the show in that segment. BCFL, playoff time. The bracket by next week should be clear as a day. The GDFL will have a championship. We won't quite have a champion yet, but we'll have a championship lined up. Tier 1 will have a very clear picture. It'll still probably be fire over everybody. Tier 2, I think next week's show, I think we'll have a lot to talk about in Tier 2.
I agree.
And then in Tier 3, it'll probably be now. Yeah, and Lucius, who are you with in the MSFA?
He's got to be with the Hurricanes.
No, I've seen the Hurricanes roster. He's not on it.
Oh, Spartans, Titans, Spartan. Well, if he's playing like with the Bulldogs, maybe he's with the Airborne.
But he's from Ohio, so I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I'd make that. I'd make that drive for the Bulldogs. I don't know if I'd make that drive for the Airborne. But I want to know.
Let the hates come in. Hate on the Airborne, man.
So yeah, next week. Now, somebody from the PAFL. I tend to get when all these leagues going. Does the playoffs start this Saturday, or are they giving a week off for makeup games and rest?
I haven't heard anything.
I thought it was this Saturday.
I guess we'll find out when Duke comes. When Duke time comes.
Lucius, now you ain't going like. There's only 2 teams to play for, and it ain't the Canes.
No, they have a week off.
Do what?
Billy Cole says they have a week off. So
Okay, so
August.
Oh, he's in Florida. What? MSFA? All right, we're out of here on that note. Lucius is killing the vibe. All right, guys. Everybody, thanks for watching. Like, share it. We'll be here next week. Talk more playoffs. But I'm getting all kinds of things. I'm getting next week and then week off. 8-4, somebody says. All right, well, then we'll be all aboard on the playoff bus next week. All right, I'm out. Thanks, everybody.